August 1920, a Boston newspaper ran the math, proving his business was impossible. He made more money that week than any week before it. This is the part of the Ponzi story nobody explains. Because the same psychological trap that emptied the life savings of 17,000 people in 1920 is running right now. Different name, different screen, same exact wiring in your brain. And here's what nobody tells you about the Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi didn't invent it because he was a genius. He stumbled into it. And what he discovered completely by accident was the one human vulnerability that no amount of education, wealth, or intelligence has ever been able to protect against. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what it is. You just won't like it. 1903. Charles Ponzi steps off a boat in Boston with $2.50. Not a metaphor. His words. $2.50. The next 15 years are a masterclass in failure. Fired as a waiter, convicted of fraud in Montreal, went to prison. Got out, tried to smuggle Italian immigrants across the US border. Prison again. By 1919, he's 36 years old, broke, living in Boston with his wife Rose, trying to launch a trade magazine that nobody wants. He is, by every measurable standard, a man who has run out of chances. And then a letter arrives from Spain. Inside it, a small paper coupon, an international reply coupon, prepaid postage that could be redeemed for stamps in any country that signed the postal treaty. Ponzi stares at this coupon, and he sees something nobody else had noticed. World War I had destroyed European currencies. The Italian lira, the Spanish peseta, worth fractions of their pre-war value. But the reply coupon system still priced at pre-war rates, which meant, on paper, you could send American dollars to Europe, buy these coupons at the cheap post-war rate, mail them back to America, redeem them at full pre-war face value, and pocket the spread. Ponzi calculated a 400% return. Now, here's the part that makes this story different from every other fraud story. That arbitrage was real, not sustainable, not scalable. The logistics were borderline insane. You'd need to physically ship millions of paper coupons across the Atlantic. But the mathematical principle, legitimate, which means when Ponzi walked into his friend's kitchen in late 1919 and offered him 50% back in 45 days, he wasn't lying. At least not yet. His friend said yes. Ponzi paid him back, exactly as promised. And that one payment, that one kept promise, is the moment that changed financial crime forever. Because word spread. 2 investors become 4. 4 become 8. February 1920, a few $1,000s a week. May 1920, hundreds of thousands. July 1920, $1 million. Every 3 days. His office had a line stretching around the block every single morning. He hired 18 employees just to process the cash. A Boston police lieutenant handed over his entire life savings. Priests pooled parish money. Immigrants who'd spent 2 decades saving a few $100s gave it all to him in a single afternoon. He bought a mansion. He bought a stake in a real Boston bank, Hanover Trust, which quietly gave him the power to approve his own loans. The Boston Post called him a financial wizard. People compared him to J.P. Morgan. And he paid every single person who asked. That's the detail everyone skips over. He wasn't disappearing with the money. He wasn't stalling. Every investor who showed up and asked for their return got it. Cash. With interest. On time. Which is why what I'm about to tell you is so hard to process. He wasn't buying a single reply coupon, not one. His entire operation, $9.5 million he's done him, was built on paying old investors with new investors' money. That's it, the whole trick. 4 words. Old money, new money. July 24th, 1920. The Boston Post publishes the math. Financial writer Clarence Barron runs the numbers and prints them publicly. For Ponzi's operation to actually work, 160 million reply coupons would need to exist worldwide. The actual number in circulation, 27,160 million versus 27,000. The article runs Saturday morning. Monday, crowd at his office. People want out. He pays every single one. Cash, interest, no arguments. Tuesday, new investors arrive. More money comes in after the expose than before it. I need you to understand what just happened there. People read a newspaper that mathematically proved the business was impossible. They processed the information, and they decided, he's probably still fine. Because he paid everyone. Because he was calm. Because for 8 months he had been the man who always paid. They trusted him more than they trusted arithmetic. The Post goes deeper. Criminal record surfaces. The Montreal forgery charge. The immigration conviction. Published in full. Deposits keep coming. And here's the sentence I want you to remember. At no point did people stop believing because of evidence. They only stopped when the money physically disappeared. August 2nd. State Bank Commissioner orders an audit. Ponzi cooperates. Offers the auditors coffee. Smiles for reporters on his way in. Still taking deposits while auditors are inside. August 10th. His own publicist breaks. William McMasters, a man Ponzi hired, goes to the Post on record. He's seen the books. Ponzi is at minimum $2 million in the hole. Probably far worse. August 11th, bank run. Hanover Trust collapses. Not just Ponzi investors. Ordinary Bostonians with checking accounts. Their money gone. August 12th, Attorney General files charges. August 13th, federal arrest. Final numbers, 17,000 investors. $9.5 million taken in. 30 cents on the dollar recovered. And only for the ones who got anything at all. The people who lost the most were the ones who believed the longest. He served 3.5 years. Got deported. Died in a charity hospital in Rio de Janeiro in 1949. His estate, $75. The man who processed $9.5 million died with $75. But here's what I haven't told you yet. The scheme didn't die with him. It graduated. A Bernie Madoff. Same structure. Ran it for 48 years. $65 billion. He had clients, sophisticated, educated Wall Street clients, who privately calculated that his returns were statistically impossible. They ran the numbers, saw the math didn't work, and invested anyway, because the checks cleared and everyone else was doing it. 1997. Albania. A third of the entire country's population put their savings into pyramid schemes. When they collapsed, the government fell. Riots. Deaths. Over a Ponzi scheme. And right now, today, there are investment platforms, crypto projects, and yield programs operating on the exact same forward mechanism Ponzi stumbled onto in 1919. Old money, new money. It keeps working every decade, every country, every asset class, every generation. Why? Lock 1. You never evaluated the claim. You evaluated the person. The math was printed in a newspaper. Didn't matter. Ponzi paid people, dressed well, and acted like someone who didn't need to lie. We are evolutionarily wired to trust the confident person in front of us over an abstract number on a page. That instinct kept our ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. It also lost 17,000 Bostonians their savings in 1920. The con artist's real weapon was never the lie. It was looking like someone who wouldn't need to lie. Lock 2. He was paying you with your neighbor's money, and the payment felt like proof. Every time Ponzi paid an investor, it felt like confirmation the system worked. It was the opposite. Each payment was new investor money being transferred to an old investor. How the ability to pay you isn't evidence of profit. It's evidence that someone newer than you just arrived. Paying you isn't generosity. Paying you is the bait. Lock 3, and this is the one. Ponzi didn't exploit greed. He exploited hope. After the expose, after the criminal record, after the math, people still walked in because they were choosing. choosing a world where the miracle was real over a world where it wasn't. When we want something to be true badly enough, we don't weigh evidence. We recruit it. We find the one reason it might still work, and we hold onto it like a life jacket. That's not stupidity. That's the most human thing there is. And it means no level of intelligence, education, or financial sophistication makes you immune. It just changes what the miracle looks like. August 12th, 1920. Charges filed. Auditors inside. Federal agents already moving. Ponzi walks out to the press, makes his statement, says he's innocent, says he'll fight every charge. He was smiling. Because even at that exact moment, with everything collapsing around him, he believed he could still talk his way through it. That's not a con man's arrogance. That's what hope looks like from the inside. The Ponzi scheme is over 100 years old. It has never once stopped working. Not because humans are stupid, but because the need to believe something is possible is stronger than any proof that it isn't. Every generation gets the version it deserves. The only question worth asking isn't, how did those 17,000 people fall for it? The question is, what's the thing you're currently hoping is real, that you haven't done the math on yet?